So we are here at WUKY at the Urban Art Collective Gallery opening. We are so excited to have Bryce Oquaye with us, and I have been admiring his work through the Barbershop Initiative so far. But I understand you are out and about all over town, and I want you to talk a little bit about that. But I don't want to go into describing too much what he does because I'm just in awe whenever it happens. But first of all, thank you for being with us here today.
Well, thank you for having me. I always appreciate your energy. Thank you a lot.
I am the one that's hovering over his back most of the time, filming his live animation as it happens in real time. I don't think I've seen anything as unique as the work that you do. So let me start off by asking you to just tell us a little bit about yourself before we go into the process of what you do.
So at its core, I'm an illustrator, through and through. So my roots come from, hip hop for sure, as far as the graffiti aspect of things, but comics and cartoons and all those things, just like every other child, I was inspired by a lot of that. But just as I got older and I started to dig more, learning about other artists and stuff, there was a lot of artists that I came across that were purely illustrators that had this live process. They were people like Kim Jung-gi and stuff that I had found who were these amazingly talented illustrators that had the ability to just go at things. So that very early I was just inspired by artists like that, and then along the way just mixing and matching my interests and community and things, and just anything that I love, I apply to the talent.
Well, I don't know that I've seen too many people, if anybody, that does what you do and does it so well. But let me just kind of ask you first, have you received any formal training, or did this just kind of come out of your own vision and how you, do you see your art first in your head, or sometimes you're looking at things, right? But do you conceive of this in your head first? And I always start off with him with the blank slate, and how it becomes what it does after just a few minutes is just remarkable.
I appreciate it. No training at all. Again, as a little kid, just drawing the things you love.
That was your education.
That was the education, really. And then, anybody within their craft, if you're a person that, you like carpentry, you start to learn about the rock star carpenters and stuff, and you learn the process and things like that. So that's just how I'm very, when I want to know something, I have to really dive in to learn the thing. So that's just how I've always been in my approach. So I learned about all these just different art styles and techniques and these things and these different artists. And then eventually I came across my close friends. They're my family. This collective called Six Bomb Boards, and then that's where I started doing live art, creating in front of people. So I that was my breakout in terms of just doing this type of thing in front of crowds, and then over time, getting comfortable with doing it in front of the crowd and just kind of just exploring and stuff, what I was already doing, just doing it in front of other people. It just blended into what it is now, but no training, no lessons. I just kind of I almost timestamp whatever the moment or the energy is that I feel and see, and then I lean into that.
So I'm real curious, what do you listen to when you are creating this art? Because we were all watching you do it, and he has his headphones on the whole time. So inquiring minds need to know.
I always have different playlists for the day. And usually it's always whatever artist that is inspiring me for that week, I'm probably diving into a playlist related to that. So recently I've been listening to an artist named Smino, and a friend of ours, Tony Wavy. He's on a couple of my playlists. People like that. I love neo soul and R&B, stuff like that. So whatever it is that I'm feeling, the vibe of the environment, I'll just lock into a playlist. I have On my Spotify and my YouTube mixes alone, I think I have like over probably 120 separate just playlists of things. And I just pick.
Well, that's awesome. So do you say that music is part of what inspires you while you're doing the artistic process, or is it just to block out the noise and also the distraction perhaps? So
it's the soundtrack. That's what
Yes.
it is. Yeah. Like, because everything that I do, the musical component is super important, because that's why I have very flowy, kind of rough approach to things. It's part of it is the energy of the moment, and then the music is really huge. Because I need it's kind of one of those things to kind of help me focus and to stay out of my thoughts, because it's very easy to overthink things, second guess things. So I put myself almost in a not necessarily like a trance, but just in this tunnel vision approach. So I use the music as a way to completely pigeonhole the thoughts. I've curated the music for the moment, and I lock in, and then all it is just the music in the moment, and then I make what I make, and I don't necessarily think about what's right, what isn't, whatever. It just is what it is.
Well, you've been at the barbershop initiatives. That's where I'm most familiar with what you do. And let me ask you about your process, because like I said, I've watched you start with a blank sheet of paper, and then I've come back to film this, and it's totally complete. And then I visited various stages, but like, for example, when you're looking at the barber chair, someone sitting in the chair and the scene around it, like, what do you see first, or what do you start drawing first? And then how does that process kind of play out?
Typically it's whatever stands out the most to me. So if I'm looking at, let's say I'm looking at the barber chair, there might be like the light might be hitting some metallic section of that chair in the way that catches my attention, and then maybe I start there. Or maybe I'm looking at the barber chair because I saw someone get up from that barber chair, and just maybe the moment of them being finished and getting up in the way the chair might move in a particular way, I want to like capture that moment as quickly as I can. Or so it could just be the most random things, but typically it's just this one single, it'll be like just a single piece that'll stand out, and I'll lock in on that piece. And then, like I said, it's like a timestamp. So it's not necessarily like my memory is photographic or anything like that, but it's something about like in those moments of something, if that's the thing that is pointed out to me just visually, then I'll move as quickly as I can to make sure I don't lose that.
I would say that's probably challenging, because people get up and they move, and all of a sudden that barber chair is swung around, right?
Yeah.
And so I would say that's probably pretty difficult, right?
It was a lot more difficult at one point in time, but I look at I look at things in shapes. Like I interpret things in very blocky, just rudimentary shapes, and then the details all come after I put together that composition. So in my mind, I'm looking at everything like silhouettes and shapes and things that are collected into whatever kind of conveys the moment or what I find attractive. And then after I mold all that out, then those details that you see is just me kind of sculpting what makes sense. Because, I have an understanding through studying and taking my time with figure drawing and things like that of what a person should look like, or what certain aspects
Right.
of like perspective and things. So it's not necessarily like a cheat sheet or anything, but I know well enough what certain things are supposed to look like, and I stretch it to whatever I think makes sense for me stylistically. So I block it all out and I chip away, and until I get exactly what it is that I want, or I chip away until I feel like I can't work that any further without it messing something up.
Well, I like it when, like I said, and I've kind of studied you a couple of different times now, and let me just say, I have no background in art whatsoever, and I will say that watching you do what you do has really inspired me to look at art much differently, and also the urban art style, right? And I've just developed such an appreciation for that in just a few weeks that I've known you. But whenever you pick up the white Is it a pen or is it a paint pen or is it a...
It's whiteout.
It's whiteout. Oh my goodness,
Yeah.
that's even better.
It's the same whiteout you could buy at Staples, really.
Oh my gosh.
I buy them in bulk. One of my homies, Justice Stewart, who is part of Six Pound Boards, the creator of Six Pound Boards, he put me on to these Pentel whiteout pens. For a while, I was using these whiteout, like those brushed, the same things you would use to white out.
Typewriter, like my era.
Same stuff, yeah. But they have these whiteout pens that you could use, and then there's these whiteout brushes. So I was like, oh, I can use these, and they work perfectly because I'm using black acrylic ink, and I'm using permanent markers and stuff like that. It's very much. It's mixing. My process is mixing a few things together because, again, you know, I'm an illustrator and I'm dealing in comics and animation and things like that, and that's in a sense the 9-to-5 function, right? But then this live art aspect, everything blends together because what I do at these events just combines everything that I've developed skill-wise in those places, and then I move it over, and then like the graffiti art and all that is kind of where I initially had cut my teeth, just kind of having to work, spray and run or whatever in those moments when I did get to mess around. Like I don't know, I keep that energy that comes with hip hop anytime I do these live art things. Yeah. That's the longest short of it.
I learn something new every day. This is awesome. So let me ask you, you are Project Ricochet's artist in residence for this year, and we are so pleased to have you and honored to have you. What do you feel like a day like today, where we are at WUKY and we are in appreciation of urban art and also urban music? What do you feel like that does for you as an artist? But I'd also like to ask you a second part is, what do you feel like it does for the community as a whole?
Well, I mean, generally, for me as an individual and as a creator, urban art, hip hop culture, all that is my backbone. It's what I was raised in. So I don't get to do what I do or be who I am without it. And the importance of all of this is coming off of the backs of people that have the understanding of like what this culture, what we do, what that means to everybody, because we speak a language that is not one that has to be translated amongst each other, right? Like I can speak to my brothers and people in this community, and I don't have to double back and say things twice, as opposed to when I step outside and I have to over-explain and be a little bit more accommodating, and that leads into the conversations of, you know, representation and things, right? So when you have an urban art collective, you're expanding these ideas of representation, and you're saying, hey, let's make a collective of people who are all connected culturally, that can step into their communities, and then it can just be what it is. And it's not even a situation of having to force invitation, because people see a thing that they're connected with, and they see possibilities, and they see people doing things at a higher level, and they say, wow, I want to go and do that. Who's doing this? I want to see this. Who's involved? So that's the importance to me of the Urban Art Collective and what we do, and how we're all doing something that's a lot larger than even we might realize in the moment.
Well, we thank you so much for being with us here today, and we're looking forward to witnessing your art taking place.
I appreciate you. Thank you again for all your energy. This is beautiful.
Thank you.